Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
And welcome to Spring Global on Western Spring Television. Now the headlines. At least 9 Iraqi federal police officers killed in bomb blast near north-central city of Kirkuk. Tunisian main opposition calls on President Said to resign after low turnout during parliamentary election. Hundreds of people protest against soaring cost of living in Liberia's capital. My name is Okwayemuni. At least 9 Iraqi federal police officers have been killed in a bomb blast near Iraqi's north-central city of Kirkuk. Officials said those killed were traveling in a convoy when the bomb struck, with 2 other officers critically injured. The blast took place near the village of Safra, which lies about 30 kilometers southwest of Kirkuk. No group has said it was behind the killings, but officials blamed the Islamic State group. On Wednesday, a roadside bomb killed 3 Iraqi soldiers near Baghdad. ISIL said it planted the bomb. In Europe, Russia says it will deploy musicians to the front lines of its war in Ukraine in a bid to boost morale. The Defense Ministry announced the formation of the Frontline Creative Brigade this week, saying it would include both vocalists and musicians. The UK's Ministry of Defense highlighted the brigade's creation in an intelligence update today. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu visited frontline troops in Ukraine. In a statement posted to Telegram, the Defense Ministry said Mr. Shoigu flew around the areas of deployment of troops and checked the advanced positions of Russian units in the zone of a special military operation. In the meantime, Mayor of Ukraine's capital, Vitaly Klitschko, says it has been fully restored to Kiev after the latest Russian bombardment of targeted water and power infrastructure. Klitschko said on the Telegram messaging app that the city was restoring all services after the latest shelling. Ukrainian officials said Russia fired more than 70 missiles on Friday in one of its heaviest barrages since the Kremlin February 24th invasion, causing emergency blackouts nationwide and cutting access to heat and water. Temperatures in Kiev and many places across Ukraine were below freezing today, with forecasts expecting them to dip to -6 degrees Celsius in the capital by the evening. Elsewhere, North Korea fired an unidentified ballistic missile today, days after Pyongyang announced a successful test of a solid-fuel model for a new weapon system. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the ballistic missile was fired into the East Sea, referring to the body of water also known as the Sea of Japan. Today's launch came days after North Korea tested a high-thrust solid-fuel model, with state media describing it as an important test for the development of another new type strategic weapon system. Despite heavy international sanctions over its weapons programs, Pyongyang has built an arsenal of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Pyongyang has conducted an unprecedented wave of weapons tests this year, including the firing of its most advanced ICBM. Meanwhile, Japan's Vice Defense Minister Toshiro Ino said the country had launched a protest after North Korea launched 2 ballistic missiles towards the east.
North Korea launched 2 ballistic missiles at around 11 o'clock today. Details are currently being analysed, but both missiles fell in the Sea of Japan, east of the Korean Peninsula, outside Japan's economic exclusion zone. The first one was fired around 11:11 a.m. from near the western coast of North Korea towards the east, and flew about 500 kilometers at a maximum altitude of about 550 kilometers. The second missile was fired around 11:52 a.m. from near the western coast of North Korea toward the east, and flew about 500 kilometers at a maximum altitude of about 550 kilometers. Since the beginning of this year, North Korea has repeatedly launched missiles at an unprecedented frequency, significantly increasing tensions in the Korean peninsula and in the region. North Korea's series of rapidly escalating provocations threatens the peace and security of Japan, the region, and the international community, and must not be tolerated. It violates the relevant Security Council resolutions, and Japan has lodged a strong protest with North Korea through our embassy in Beijing and strongly condemned their actions.
Israel's Interior Ministry says it has deported a Palestinian French human rights lawyer after accusing him of security threats. The ministry said Salah Amouri was escorted onto a flight to France by police today. A lifelong resident of Jerusalem, he was stripped of his residency rights after officials accused him of being a member of a terrorist organization. Mr. Amouri denies the charges, and rights groups have condemned the move. The deportation came amidst calls for French President Emmanuel Macron to oppose the deportation to France, whose foreign ministry spokeswoman had previously said Amouri must be able to exercise all his rights and lead a normal life in Jerusalem, his city of birth and residence. In Africa, a freak wave has killed 3 swimmers, including a teenager, and injured many others at a popular beach in South Africa's southeastern city of Durban. A spokesman for KwaZulu-Natal Emergency Medical Services, Robert Mackenzie, said the wave washed swimmers at the Bay of Plenty out of sea, drowning at least 3 of them. He added that at least 17 others were injured and were in serious or critical condition. The municipality said 35 lifeguards were involved in the mass rescue effort, and that paramedics attended to more than 100 people caught in the incident. The incident took place as Durban has gradually been reopened its beaches after closure due to high levels of bacteria coming from the city's sewer system, which was badly damaged by deadly floods earlier in the year. The floods, the worst in living memory, killed more than 400 people in April. Now to politics, Tunisia's main opposition coalition has said President Kais Saied must resign after fewer than 9% of eligible voters took part in parliamentary elections. The National Salvation Front head Najib Chebi said yesterday's poll was a fiasco, calling for mass protest to demand instant presidential elections. The vote was boycotted by most opposition parties. They accused Mr. Saied of reversing the democratic progress mid-season the 2011 uprising, a charge he denies. After sacking the Prime Minister and suspending Parliament in July 2021, a year later, Mr. Saied pushed through a constitution enshrining his one-man rule, after a vote that was also boycotted by the main opposition parties. Fiji's 2 main rival political parties, headed by former coup leaders, are deadlocked after Wednesday's general election. Final results show that the Fiji First Party of Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama and opposition leader Sitiveni Rabuka's People's Alliance will each get 26 parliamentary seats. They now face a race to form a ruling coalition with the Social Democratic Liberal Party, which has 3 seats. The poll in the Pacific Island nation has been marred by fraud allegations. The General Secretary of the Social Democratic Liberal Party says his organization is yet to decide where it will lend its support, adding that it will be backing whoever can best help indigenous Fijians. If the party sides with People's Alliance, it will mark the end of Mr. Bainimarama's nearly 16 years in power. You're watching Spring Global on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Welcome back on Spring Global. Now to the rest of the stories. Delegates of South Africa's ruling African National Congress, ANC, gathered today to choose a new party leader, pitting President Cyril Ramaphosa against former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize. The winner, who will run for president under the ANC banner in elections in 2024, has been more or less guaranteed to become president in the 3 decades since Nelson Mandela ended white minority rule in the country. But this is no longer a certainty, as the ANC's popularity has waned over that period, and the party faces the possibility of losing its majority for the first time. More than 4,500 delegates at the ANC's 5-day conference in Johannesburg must decide which of the two candidates is best placed to revive its fortunes. Still in Africa, hundreds of protesters have gathered at the outer section of the Samuel Kenyondo Sports Complex in Liberia's capital, Monrovia, to protest against soaring costs of living a day before President George Weah's return from a 48-day trip abroad. The protest was organized by the coalition of collaborating parties and opposition alliance in the West African country, but reports of internal scuffles kept only the Alternative National Congress in the fold. Protesters gathered at various locations around the city, including the party headquarters of the two opposition parties, chanting protest songs as they walked to the stadium, which is Liberia's largest. ANC supporters also wore shirts with the face of the candidate Alexander Cummings, one of Mr. Weah's 2 challengers for the presidency in the 2023 election. According to the World Food Programme, an estimated 64% of people in Liberia, one of the world's poorest countries, live below the poverty line, and 1.3 million of those live in extreme poverty. The protests were held a day before Mr. Weah's return from a trip, which included a visit to Qatar to watch his son play for the USA football team in the FIFA World Cup.
We gather here today to draw the attention of the international community because this government is adamant. This government has deliberately refused to listen to the cry of the citizen, because on several occasions we have gathered to cry on this government, but the government deliberately refused to listen to our call. So for this reason, we have gathered here today peacefully as a citizen of this nation that is going through torment from the hands of George Manneh Weah.
We want a Liberia where every Liberian will be guaranteed the same opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is up to you, but you'll be guaranteed the same opportunity. A Liberia where we will stop the suffering, where we will stop the stealing.
In the United States, the mayor of a Texas border city has declared a state of emergency over concerns about the community's ability to handle an anticipated influx of migrants across the southern border. El Paso Mayor Oscar Lisa issued the state of emergency declaration to allow the city on the U.S. border with Mexico to tap into additional resources that are expected to become necessary after Title 42 expulsions end on December 21st. Mr. Lisa had previously resisted issuing an emergency declaration, or said he was moved to action by the sight of people on downtown streets with temperatures dipping below freezing. A ruling on Friday by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals means restrictions that have prevented hundreds of thousands of migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. in recent years are still set to be lifted on Wednesday unless further appeals are filed.
As we see the increase in asylum seekers into our community, and we see the temperatures dropping, and we know that Title 42 looks like it's going to be called back on Wednesday, we felt there was proper time today to call a state of emergency. I said from the beginning that I would call it when I felt that either our asylum seekers or our community was not safe, and I really believe that today our asylum seekers are not safe, as we have hundreds and hundreds on the streets, and that's not the way we want to treat people.
Pope Francis revealed for the first time in an interview today that he had signed a resignation letter nearly a decade ago should poor health prevent him from carrying out his duties. Francis, who turned 86 yesterday, has said in the past that he would step down from the papacy should health problems keep him from his duties. Speaking to Spanish newspaper ABC, the pontiff said he signed his resignation letter and handed it over to the Vatican Secretary of State, Tarcisio Bertone, before that cardinal's retirement in 2013. Francis has been limited in his ability to walk by an inoperable knee condition, which has forced him to rely on a wheelchair in recent months. His predecessor, Benedict XVI, quit over failing health in 2013, and he now lives quietly in Vatican City. European Union negotiators have reached an agreement on overhauling the bloc's carbon market in a bid to reduce emissions and invest in climate-friendly technologies. According to a European Parliament statement, the deal aims to accelerate emissions quotas, phase out free allowances to industries, and target fuel emissions from the building and road transport sectors. The EU emissions trading system ETS allows electricity producers and industries with high energy demands, such as steel and cement, to buy free allowances to cover their carbon emissions under a polluter pays principle. The quotas are designed to decrease over time to encourage them to emit less and invest in greener technologies as part of the EU's ultimate aim of achieving carbon neutrality. In the meantime, the leaders of Azerbaijan, Georgia, Romania, and Hungary have signed an agreement on an underwater electric cable under the Black Sea to carry green Azeri energy to Europe. The agreement involves a 1,100-kilometer cable running from Azerbaijan to Romania as part of wider European Union efforts to diversify energy resources away from Russia amid the Ukraine war. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said the European Commission had earmarked 2.3 billion euros to support the construction of the cable, which will be the longest of its kind in the world, and Azerbaijan was inviting investors to build the turbines. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the EU's strategy to turn its back on Russian fossil fuels and diversify towards what she called reliable energy partners was working. She said the EU was ready to provide financial support to the projects pending the results of a feasibility study.
Compensate the cuts in Russian pipeline gas. To integrate a growing share of renewables, we need indeed stronger electricity interconnections. And this is why the Black Sea electric cable between Romania, Georgia, and Azerbaijan is so important.
And out of sports, Qatar today reiterated that the country denies any involvement in the corruption case being investigated by Belgian authorities involving people linked to the European Parliament. Belgian authorities have charged 4 people linked to the European Parliament over allegations that the World Cup host lavished them with cash and gifts to influence decision-making. Qatar has previously denied any wrongdoing. A A statement today by diplomat from Qatar's mission to the European Union said the country had been exclusively criticized and attacked in the investigation and was deeply disappointed that the Belgian government made no effort to engage with our government to establish the facts. The statement added that limiting dialogue and cooperation on the issue before a legal process has ended will negatively affect security cooperation and discussions on global energy security. The English Football Association has confirmed that Gareth Southgate will remain as England manager until after the European Championship in 2024. Southgate had earlier said he was conflicted about his future in the role after England's quarter-final exit at the World Cup. The 52-year-old, who was appointed in 2015, led the Three Lions to the World Cup semi-finals in 2018 and the first Euros final in 2021. His current contract is due to expire in December 2024, and FA Chief Executive Mark Bollingham said the association was delighted to confirm that Southgate will lead England's Euro 2024 campaign. Barbadian megastar Rihanna has for the first time shared a video of her baby son who was born to her and her boyfriend rapper A$AP Rocky in May. The 45-second video on TikTok, the singer's first on the social media platform, has already attracted 11.5 million views and 3.4 million likes since it was posted. The 34-year-old entertainment and fashion mogul gave birth in May, but no other details, including the child's name, had been made public. The Barbadian-born singer, whose real name is Robin Rihanna Fenty, in recent years has become a billionaire, parlaying her music achievements into successful makeup, lingerie, and high fashion brands. Before we end Spring Global, here is a recap of our top stories. At least 9 Iraqi federal police officers have been killed in a bomb blast near Iraq's north-central city of Kirkuk. Tunisia's main opposition coalition has said President Kais Saied must resign after fewer than 9% of eligible voters took part in parliamentary elections. Hundreds of protesters have gathered at the outer section of a Samuel Kenyon Dose Sports Complex in Liberia's capital, Monrovia, protest against soaring cost of living a day before President George Weah's return from a 48-day trip abroad. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am Okpayamuni. Thanks for watching.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. when one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine would be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and he feels so reserved. He really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attachment to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? I know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday. They are saying it favors you, Are they vague so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of.
Who are you now?
Well, MC Too Much said he likes saying when I was in the world. And the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, he's actually out of this world. We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So MC Too Much, I beg you to talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk about like his own.
I think I have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach so much importance to that gender.
It's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism, because at the end of the day, a man who is secured in his word, a man who is confident of who he is, will not really be disturbed as to whether women are being referred to as champions or not. I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph's a really great guy, but whether he likes it or not, women are champions. Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Western Spring Television, as it is.
Ẹ kú dédé wò yìí ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa níbikíbi tẹ́ bá ti ń wò mí. Western Spring Television la wà yìí lórí ètò Alásè níbi tá a ti máa kọ́ ara wa ní oríṣiríṣi oúnjẹ aládùn. Orúkọ tèmi ni Abíóyè Adéjọkẹ́ aya Akíndàdá tí gbogbo ayé mọ̀ sí Debbie Cooks. Lónìí a máa ṣe ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́ rírò ẹlẹ́mìí 5. Tá bá ti dé ibi tí àwọn èròjà wa wà a máa mọ̀ bóyá ẹlẹ́mìí 5 ni o bóyá ẹlẹ́mìí 10 ni o. Ẹ bá mi ká lọ. Àwọn èròjà mi ni mo ti kó síbí báyìí tí mo ti pèsè sílẹ̀ fún bá ṣe máa bẹ̀rẹ̀. So ẹ̀fọ́ wa ti wà níbí báyìí tá ti rẹ́ síbí tá ti fọ̀ dáadáa. Irú mi leléyìí àti àlùbọ́sà mi. Ata tí mo ti lọ sí bíbí fẹ́rẹ́fẹ́ tí kò kúnná jù, rodo, ṣọ̀mbọ̀ àti àlùbọ́sà ló wà níbí báyìí. Ẹja yíyan, panla yíyan ló wà níbí. Pọ̀nmọ́ tí a ti rẹ́ tàdẹ̀ ti fọ̀ dáadáa ló wà níbí. Edé wa rèé, iyọ̀ wa rèé, ìsebẹ̀ wa rèé, edé wẹ́wẹ́ wa lélẹ̀ àti epo. So ẹ bá mi ká lọ ká bọ́ sí orí ètò gangan. Ẹ káàbọ̀ padà sórí Western Spring Television lórí ètò Alásè. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí mo ṣe sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan mo gbàgbé kí n sọ fún wa pé ẹran wa ti wà lórí iná, ẹran ògúnfe la fẹ́ lò torí ó máa ń fún ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́ ní adùn tó pọ̀ ju àwọn ẹran yòókù lọ. Omi wa náà tá fẹ́ fi bọ ẹ̀fọ́ wa fẹ́rẹ́fẹ́ náà ó ti wà ní orí iná ní báyìí. So ẹ máa bá mi ká lọ ká bọ́ sí orí ètò gangan ká ṣe ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́ wa bó ṣe yẹ kó rí. Ní àkọ́kọ́ a máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti bọ ẹ̀fọ́ wa ní fẹ́rẹ́fẹ́ bí mo ṣe sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan fẹ́rẹ́fẹ́ la máa bọ ẹ̀fọ́ wa lórí iná. Tá bá dẹ̀ ti da ẹ̀fọ́ wa sí orí iná a máa make sure pa iná wa so that ẹ̀fọ́ wa kò ní bọ̀ jù lórí iná kí gbogbo àwọn adùn àti gbogbo nutrients tó wà nínú ẹ̀fọ́ wa kó má bomi lọ. Mi ò mọ Yorùbá nutrients ni o, ẹ má bínú. So a máa dẹ̀fọ́ wa sórí iná ní báyìí. Tá bá ti ṣe tán a máa gbé kúrò ní orí iná. A máa ṣí omi wa sínú omi tútù sínú ike tá máa fi ẹ̀fọ́ wa sínú ẹ̀ kó má bàa